and welcome to News Plus. I'm Ikioma Atuon. The House of Representatives reiterated its commitment to support the Nigerian Army to achieve their goals, insisting that funds provided be judiciously utilized in order to earn the trust of Nigerians, as well as to boost the morale of officers in the Army. Chairman House Committee on Army Abdulrazak Namdas stated this on Thursday during the 2021 budget performance and 2022 budget proposal of the Nigerian Army at the National Assembly. The report.
Over the years, the atrocities and motivation of banditry in the country have assumed insurgent-type criminality. In spite of government efforts, the security situation in Nigeria has deteriorated. The recent abductions of lecturers in University of Abuja, the nation's capital, amongst others, are more examples of the deplorable state of security in the country. The committee is worried and wants the Nigerian government and doctrine program to beef up its program in area of training and retraining of its officers to combating banditry and terrorism in the country.
Our visit gave us more confidence that TRADOC is doing exactly what it was established to do. This is because our visit coincided with an ongoing training which we decided to observe. And what we saw actually shows that TRADOC is doing its own doctrine and then training officers and men in the Nigerian Army.
With the current security crisis bedeviling the country, the committee urged TRADOC not to relent in protecting the territorial integrity of the country.
We are worried that with the spread of banditry across the country, that is why we feel that attention should be paid to banditry and also terrorism. That was also why the National Assembly decided to pass a resolution urging the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, to designate bandits as terrorists so that the security forces can have more power to deal with the situation.
Earlier, the Director of Nigerian Army Training and Doctrine, Major General Stevenson Olabanji, while enumerating the activities of TRADOC, hinted at the Committee of a Special Forces Training, all geared towards beefing up the personal strength of the Nigerian Army.
The essence of this Special Forces Training is to further give these personnel some specialized training in the aspect of watermanship, deep diver, airborne, and living off the land capabilities. Other aspects of this training will be in the areas of target acquisition, tracker, assailing and repelling, counter-terrorism, and counter-insurgency training, amongst others. These are all geared towards beefing up the personnel strength of the Nigerian Army and further increase our fighting capabilities in order to bring a lasting solution to the insecurity challenge in our country.
The committee eventually went on a closed-door session to consider details of the budget.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Yusuf Yahaya, says the Nigerian Army needs more funds to acquire military hardware, arms and ammunition, and to provide welfare for its personnel. He said this while presenting the Nigerian Army's 2021 budget performance and the 2022 budget proposal before the House Committee on Army in Abuja, where he declared the 2021 budget performance as fairly average with 78%, 73% and 100% performance, while expecting improvement in the 2022 budget proposal. Lieutenant General Yahaya said an increase in the budgetary allocation and its removal from the envelope system of release of funds, together with timely releases in the first quarter, will assist the Army to achieve its dream of a disciplined and well-trained Army ready to serve the country. On his part, Chairman, House Committee on Army, Honorable Abdulrazak Namdas, assured the Chief of Army Staff of the committee's readiness to push for increased funding for improvement of the welfare of its personnel to boost their morale in discharging their national assignments.
While the 100% release of capital funds is commendable, it should however be noted that most of the hardware requirements of the Nigerian Army are priced in United States dollars and procured from original equipment manufacturers outside Nigeria. Hence, it takes quite some time from when equipment are ordered to the time they are supplied and inducted into operation. Thus, I can conveniently state that the 2021 budget performance is fairly above average. So now I look to year 2022 Nigerian Army budget proposal. So in preparing for year 2022 budget, Nigerian Army proposed the sum of 710 billion only. However, the budget ceiling for the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning reduced it to a total sum of 579 billion only. This reduction would impede the capacity and tempo of Nigerian Army in carrying out its constitutional duties, particularly the ongoing war against Boko Haram terrorists and other criminalities across the country.
We must tell you the truth, that the morale of your men in respect to accommodation is low. A lot needs to be done in that area. This is because your men can only give you their best if they are psychologically stable or are well accommodated. It is the wish of this committee to also draw the attention of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, to the plight of our officers and men living in dilapidated structures scattered across 138 barracks in the country. Proposing 28 billion as capital for the Army in 2022 budget is very inadequate. Even if the entire money is to be used for rehabilitation of barracks alone, it will still be very inadequate. It is our hope that Armed Forces Support Fund bill, currently awaiting concurrence at the Senate, when passed and assented to by the President, will help tackle some of these major challenges.
The Chairman, House Committee on Army, Abdulrazak Namdas, has harped on the need for the Nigerian Army to intensify more efforts in funding of capital projects. He stated this immediately after the closed-door meeting with the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Yusuf Yahaya. He said funding more capital components of the Nigerian Army budget will go a long way in eliminating the challenges faced by its officers and men and to run its operations smoothly.
Propose certain amount. It's not what Army proposes that it is accepted. For instance, last year, the capital is 29 billion. Today, this year, 2022, it is 28 billion. So instead of moving up, it's coming down. And this budget is about capital. You use capital to buy equipment. You use capital to prosecute the war. You use capital to also renovate barracks. So if all these things you have, even the entire 28 billion you have to use to even renovate the 138 barracks in this country, it will not even take 1/4 of it. So actually the money is very small. There is need for us to sit down to see how we can help Army move forward. Because if you give somebody a small amount, he will tell you that it is because you didn't give him enough money. And if you're wholly responsible, he has a way of dodging the question. Give him enough. Agreed. We have done so much in supplementary budget. But again, the capital component of it for a whole 2022 is 28 billion. You and SAFE know that this thing cannot continue. We can't do anything much with the money.
The Director Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Aisha Rufai, says her agency could not promote nor recruit staff in 2020 due to the outbreak of COVID-19. As such, it has to merge with 2020 was merged with the 2021 exercise. She said the agency's 2020 budget performance was 30.21%, while the 2021 budget performance is 80%. Rufai says recruitment for the two services were the Nigerian Immigration Service and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, which given waiver, which was where the agency had problem.
Our budget from the Ministry of Finance, we discovered that our promotion and recruitment has been removed as capital projects. So we are left with only 171 million as our budget, in our budget, that we cannot put that as capital, under capital subject. It has to be under recurrent. That is a problem that will have to be solved, because as it is, we cannot conduct any recruitment. We were advised to change the subject into human capital development / audit, consultancy for human capital development / audit. So I don't know, sir, we'll need assistance with that.
We have a duty to ensure that the country receives value for every penny or kobo appropriated, especially in this critical era of budgetary fiscal deficit. The mandate of the Civil Defense, Correctional, Fire and Immigration Service Board in overseeing the recruitment and promotion of quality staff for paramilitary services under the Federal Ministry of Interior, as well as their dismissal and other disciplinary measures, is a task that must be performed optimally. We are glad to have you and your management team here, Madam Secretary, and hopefully you will have a wonderful interaction with the committee.
Still on the 2022 budget, Gombe State government is engaging citizens in preparing its 2022 budget. The budget presentation, organized by Gombe State Ministry of Finance in collaboration with Budget Planning and Development Partner Coordination Office, is aimed at receiving inputs from members of the public and reflecting them in the 2022 budget. Our correspondent Christopher Luca was there and now reports.
This is the public presentation of 2022 budget as Gombe State engages its citizens over where and what to spend on in the year 2022. Governor Ino Yahya says his administration's focus is constantly shaped by inputs from the citizens.
We shall work hard to see that we do not misapply the resources of the people for a selfish few. And that's why you see that all the projects we are doing, all the programs, and all the policies are aligned towards the majority of the people.
Despite economic downturn and debt servicing, Gombe State has kept its head above water in their under review.
For me, I've committed myself, I've dedicated myself, and I believe for a greater segment of these people on the side, we are committed and we shall continue to work and deliver on the
Gombe State Commissioner of Finance says the 2022 budget, like the previous ones, is people-oriented and people-directed.
The people who are here today determine the projects that will be in the budget. And of course, people-centered because it centers on the lives and touches on the heart of the people. Provision of infrastructure that will enhance their livelihoods, provision of healthcare facilities, provision of educational facilities, and in agricultural sector.
With the outgoing budget performing up to 68%, participants are confident of better performance in the 2022 budget.
The indicators submitted by the governor, the 68% achievement of the budget performance, is commendable, and I trust and I believe in what he said, because we'll be monitoring and being evaluating so far how they have gone. Despite financial challenges, the resource challenges they've been facing, despite all that, they could be able to achieve that 68 is a very tremendous achievement.
I'm so happy because by mid of October, attaining 68% is something commendable, and I'm sure it's not far from them involving the citizenry.
The government should borrow the money to complete Muhammadu Buhari industrial parks. Government should borrow the money and also use it to engage our youth. Government should also borrow the money to do anything that will generate money, not for their unselfish and personal interests.
As this consultation procedure is adjudged to have all the trappings of constitutional democracy, it is hoped that the due diligence of the Inua administration would continue to help in addressing the myriad of developmental needs of Gombe State. Christopher Luca, Viewer Television News, Gombe.
Now to issues of security. The kidnapped lecturers of the University of Abuja and some of their family members have been released in the early hours of Friday, the 5th of November 2021. The Chairman, Academic Staff Union of Universities, University of Abuja Chapter, Kasim Umar, confirmed this to journalists in Abuja on Friday. Kasim did not say if the university, however, paid any ransom on the kidnapped staff and their family members, but said the freed university lecturers on their way home, returning to their families in the campus. It will be recalled that suspected bandits in the early hours of Tuesday invaded the University of Abuja's staff quarters and kidnapped 4 lecturers and some of their children. The bandits were said to have stormed the university's staff quarters in Giri and held lecturers hostage. Report says the kidnappers earlier requested 300 million naira as ransom to rescue the release of the abducted to secure the release of the abducted lecturers. Now, the federal government has lamented that its failure to implement the report of the Committee on the Restructuring and Rationalization of the Federal Government Parastatals, Agencies and Commissions, otherwise known as Oronsaye Report, was costing the country so much. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, made the outcry during the inauguration of the subcommittees on government, white paper and review of parastatals, agencies and commission that were created following the submission of the Oronsaye report. Mustafa, who was represented at the inauguration by the head of civil service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemieson, noted that cost was escalating for every delay that the implementation of the Oronsaye report suffers. The SGF said the country has for many years been struggling to make sure that at least 30% of its annual budget goes into capital projects. Excuse me, the committee was to review the Oronsaye report and white paper on restructuring and rationalization of federal government parastatals, agencies and commissions.
That some of the recent reforms and strategies being put in place are beginning to show the potential of yielding desired results. Worthy of immediate mention is the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan and its associated revised public service rules, as well as the introduction of performance management. It was in a bid to address the aforementioned, amongst others, that the Committee on the Restructuring and Rationalization of Federal Government Parastatals, Commissions and Agencies was constituted on 18th August 2011 and submitted its report on 16th April 2012. The report recommended that of the 541 statutory and non-statutory federal government parastatals, agencies and commissions, 263 statutory agencies should be reduced to 161. 38 agencies should be abolished, 52 agencies should be merged, and 14 should revert to departments in ministries. Subsequently, the white paper on the report was issued and published in March 2014 and was followed by the white paper of the Implementation Committee, which was inaugurated in May of that same year, 2041.
I want to give glory to God for making today possible, because the challenge we have been called upon to try and provide solution for has been lingering for a long time. The timeline is very stringent, 6 weeks. We pray that God will give us the enablement, but we will do our best. We've all served this country, are still serving this country, and we know how important the outcome of these two subcommittees will be to the government, to governance, to our budget, because for long we have been talking about 30% for capital projects, 70% for overhead and all that, but I don't think we have been able to achieve that. But God being our helper, we'll do our utmost best to ensure that we produce reports and give advice that will enable government to take the best decision as far as it concerns the two committees.
A federal high court in Abuja has stopped the federal government from executing its plan to deduct $418 million from the bank accounts of the 36 states of the Federation. Justice Inyang Eko gave the restraining order against the federal government following an ex parte application argued by the lawyers to the 36 states, Judbrin Utuketa SAN and Ahmed Raji SAN. While removing the application, Okutepa, who led the legal team of the state, told Justice Eko that the 36 states will be completely crippled if the federal government goes ahead to deduct the huge amount from the bank accounts of the states. According to him, the federal government had revealed the plan to deduct $418 million from the state account monthly as part of debt for contracts allegedly executed for the states. He, however, said that the 36 state attorneys general have read the purported judgment displayed by the federal government and found that the states were not parties to the court action which resulted in the judgment debt. After listening to the arguments of the 36 states, Justice Eko ordered the federal government not to go ahead to make any deduction from the accounts of the states in respect of the purported court judgment until all issues relating to it were fully determined. The judge thereafter fixed the matter for November the 30th and ordered the plaintiff's lawyer to serve all processes on the defendants before the adjourned date. And El Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed January 19th, 2022 for hearing the suit filed by leader of the Islamic movement, Sheikh Ibrahim El Zakzaki, and his wife Zina against the Department of State Security, State Services DSS, and Attorney General of the Federation. Justice Inyang Eko on Friday fixed the date to allow the defendants in the fundamental right enforcement suit respond to allegations leveled against them, while El Zaki and his wife are applicants in the separate suits. The DSS, DG, and AGF are first and second respondents, respectively. And the suits dated and filed on October the 14th by their counsel, Femi Falana, the IMN leader and wife, are demanding general and exemplary damages over the respondent's refusal to release his travel passport. Justice Eko, who said he was mindful to adjourn the case for the respondents to keep their house in order, fixed January the 19th, 2022 for hearing the suits. He directed the applicants to ensure that hearing notices are issued to the respondents. And now the National Broadcasting Commission has warned broadcast stations against airing news content that could compromise the unity of the country as the Anambra elections hold on Saturday, November the 6th. This was contained in a statement titled Anambra Election, NBC Warns Against Broadcast That Compromise the Unity of Nigeria, signed by NBC Director General Balarabe Ile. Ile tasked all broadcasts covering the governorship elections to follow the electoral guidance provided by the Nigerian Broadcasting Code. The statement went further to outline some of the laws which broadcasters are to follow, adding that election results should not be illegally projected on their platforms. The Commission mentioned that broadcasters who go against the provisions will undergo severe penalties. Now, as the world marks 2021 International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists, an NGO, African Media Development Foundation, calls on relevant authorities in Africa to ensure perpetrators of such crimes are brought to justice. In a statement signed by the Executive Director, AMDF Iliya Kure in Kaduna, he noted that with concern the increase in cases of journalists being killed, attacked, and kidnapped around the continent in the course of their statutory duties. Kure called on African leaders to understand that the media is instrumental to projecting the voice of the voiceless, unraveling socio-economic issues, as well as preferring solutions to challenges and problems faced by many. According to him, the media have always played great roles in scrutinizing governments, exposing corruption, and holding leaders accountable, thereby contributing to their greater transparency and public sector stability. The executive director further stated that while the media achievements are worth celebrating, press freedom in Africa continues to deteriorate, a situation the NGO views as a serious threat. International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists is celebrated annually on November the 2nd. And now the Nigerian Medical Association says it will set up an emergency help desk to provide support to survivors and relatives of the Ikoyi building collapse. Dr. Tunji Adenekon, NMH chairman in Lagos chapter, disclosed this in an interview on Friday in Lagos. Adenekon said that responding to disaster of such magnitude would need more medical personnel to provide emergency care and mental health support to their survivors, their relatives, and rescuers. He said that the catastrophe had placed a strain on the state's health system, noting that drastic efforts should be made to salvage the situation. Adenekon said that members of the association's Emergency Response and Mental Health Committee had visited the survivors at the hospital and the scene of the building collapse to assess the situation. He further commended the state government for its offer to pay the medical bills of survivors receiving treatment at the hospitals, adding that the association would monitor the situation to ensure that survivors got the necessary care promised by the government and that no official was found caught in corners. Meanwhile, the Force Commander Multinational Joint Task Force, Major General Khalifa Ibrahim, has stated that the idea behind the African Union Continental Logistics Base located in Cameroon is very strategic and timely in view of security challenges facing Africa. He called for more support from the African Union headquarters for the Continental Logistics Base to make it more functional. The force commander stated this while on a 5-day working visit to the Republic of Cameroon, which commenced at the African Union Continental Logistics Base from 31st of October until Thursday, November the 4th, 2021. The FC, who was received by the Chief of the Mission Support Unit of the African Union, Colonel Billy Winter, and was briefed on the association and the mandate by the team leader, Colonel Nancy Rawi, who explained the role of the association in details and how they can be of assistance based on approval from the African Union headquarters. This was followed by an interactive session to facilitate better understanding of the association and later a guided tour of the CLB where equipment and the base were displayed. In his response, Major General Kemo Hector restated the commitment of the Cameroon Defense Forces in partnering with the MNJTF to ensure that it achieves its mandate, while pledging to also continue to support the AUCLB in its operations. The aim of the visit is improving synergy, visibility, and operational efficiency of the MNJTF in its fight against Boko Haram insurgents in its operational environment. And that's all on News Plus. Many thanks for watching.